Okay, there are certain aspects of hockey which those of us who followed it for a long time, we get it. For people who are newer to the game, and I know there's certain subscribers to this channel who may be new to the game, may not get the whole drafting free agency and stuff. So as this stuff comes up, I have no problem explaining it. The names on the board are players that, according to Cap Friendly, are expiring draft picks. So you draft somebody rounds 1 through 7. You've got 2 years to sign them, or 4, and there's circumstances where it can be 4. I know in European leagues, I think it's if they're going to college too, you got 4. Depending, there's different rounds. Anyways, basically it's this. These guys, if they're not signed by June 1st to a contract with the team that drafted them, they have a choice. They can either become unrestricted free agents, or they can go back in the draft and get redrafted. Most of them likely aren't going to be NHL players. And of the ones I looked up, there are a couple of them that don't have stats for this year, so they may already be out of the game. And that does happen, where a kid gets drafted at 18, by the time he's 20, already realizes I'm not going to make it to the big leagues, and find something else to do. And I'm going to go over the interesting ones here. 7th round pick for Anaheim's Tyler Soy, 92 points in Victoria this year. Born on February 10th, I share a birthday with this kid. So if the Canucks want to throw an entry-level contract at him, I approve. On June 1st, Mr. Benning, you listening? This kid was born the same day as me. It's kismet. It's meant to happen. And he had 92 points for the Victoria Royals. The team that moved from Chilliwack was the Chilliwack Bruins. It's just meant to happen. For Arizona, Anton Carlson, who's a forward, 3rd-round draft pick in the 2014 draft. And I don't think he's going to be picked up. David Westland, 6th-round draft pick in the 2014 draft, and I found no stats for him. Now, I go usually by HockeyDB because they're pretty good at keeping stats for the top leagues and for the ones that may feed into an NHL career. Boston doesn't have anybody. Buffalo, Wojtek Budik, 14 goals and 41 points for Prince Albert this year as a 5th-rounder. Somebody might take a shot on him. He's a defenseman with 14 goals. Somebody may give him a tryout. These are the guys that if they don't get signed, these are the guys you'll hear get a tryout contract in September. You'll be like, who's trying out? And then they'll probably get cut from the parent team and then end up getting a tryout with the American Hockey League team to see if they can get a minor league contract. Brandon Hagel, 59 points for Red Deer, 6th-round pick. Austin Odzmanski, played in Peterborough this year, 17 points as a defenseman. But with defensemen, I'm pointing this out too. He's 6'4", and big defensemen. There are GMs that will still look at a guy who's a pretty big defenseman who got drafted and say, "We'll give this kid a tryout." Calgary, Adam Ollis Matson, played in Stockton this year for 14 games. He had no points, and he's a 2014 draft pick. He'll be UFA, I would imagine. Carolina, and the reason that I'm doing this video is because I did some research based on Hudson Elenick. Hudson Elenick, it has come out from newly named GM Don Waddell that he's not going to sign. He had 86 points in Spokane, 3rd-rounder from 2 years ago, and there will be some mild interest. Now, if you have a guy that you need to sign before June 1st, or this free agency thing kicks in, you can shop him right now for a trade, and then the team you trade him to could sign him to an entry-level contract. And Elenick, I'm sure there will be calls out, but you're not going to get a lot back for a guy that they know they can get for free next week. Noah Carroll, a 6th-round pick, 37 points in Sault Ste. Marie this year. Chicago, Andreas Soderberg, 2014 draft pick, but he's 6'4" as a defenseman. Maximilian, I want to say pay patch. No 2018 stats on this goaltender. Drafted in the 6th round 2 years ago. Miro Karjalainen, 2014 draft, playing in the Finnish Liga. 135 penalty minutes, and he's 6'5". So he's big, and he punches people. Somebody will like a guy who's big and punches people on the blue line. Those guys still have a job. As long as they're decent skating, like you can't have a guy who's out there who's a costly guy to have on the ice as a skater, especially on the blue line. But somebody will at least take a look at him and see if he's a decent skater and if he's got an NHL projectable any part of his game. Nobody for Detroit and Edmonton. One of the bigger names on this list probably the biggest name on this list. Adam Masharin, or Masharin. Second round draft pick 2 years ago by Florida. The draft pick immediately after him, Alex DeBrincat. Yeah, that doesn't look very good right now for Florida, does it? He had 40 goals for Kitchener this year, so I'm sure that Florida's trying to work something out with Masharin, or Masharin. But they only have roughly a week from today, and then he's free agent. He'll attract attention as a second-round draft pick, and with those 40 goals for Kitchener. Julius Vahatalo, 2014 draft pick in the 6th round. LA, Jacob Friend, 30 points this year for Owen Sound, 7th round draft pick. Minnesota, Pontus Shalin. Now, it was spelled with a D. On the website I looked at initially, I had to go through and make sure that, yeah, it's with an S. 10 points. He's a 6-foot-tall defenseman, and he's in the Swedish league. So, because you got those 10 points in the Swedish league and not one of the junior versions of the Swedish league, maybe somebody takes a shot at him. Braden Chizen, 19 points with Kelowna this year, defenseman. Nobody from Montreal and Nashville, so we'll move on to New Jersey. Evan Cormier, 4th-round pick. 24 wins for Saginaw this year, 900 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. The goalies are tricky. That's as far as I'll go with that. Goalies are tricky to project. Nobody for the Islanders, nobody for the Rangers, or Ottawa. So we'll move on to Philly. Anthony Salinitri. 6th-round draft pick. He had 58 points for Sarnia this year. Pittsburgh, defenseman Connor Hall, 3rd-round draft pick. 11 assists for Kitchener this year. The offense isn't there, but he's 6'4", so if he's got the speed, and if he can put up a Mark Mathot type wall on that blue line, he may get a look. St. Louis, nobody. San Jose, Mark Shoemaker, who's a defenseman, 6th-round pick, 10 points this year. So the offense isn't there again. It depends on whether you're projectable in some other way at the NHL level. Tampa, Christopher Paquette, 5th-round draft pick. He was a -36 for Peterborough. And I don't like the plus-minus stat more than anybody else. But when you've got an overager means he's in his last year. He's 20 years old. So he's in his last year of junior eligibility. And he's got that -36, and he doesn't put up the goals or the points. That probably leads one to believe that I don't think Tampa will make a contract offer, and I don't know that anybody will pick him up. But there's no reason for a player like that to despair, because as guys like Alex Burrows will tell you, sometimes you have late bloomers. So I'm not ruling anybody out that's on this board. Let's put it that way. Toronto, Keaton Middleton was in the news for the fact that they don't expect him to sign. 24 points for Saginaw. 6'5" defenseman. So he'll get interest somewhere. J.J. Pasinich, and I hope I'm not butchering that. He's a 2014 draft pick. And he had 45 points for the Orlando Solar Bears. And when I saw that, I'm like, should I wear my Orlando jersey? I could, but I didn't. Nicholas Matanen, 6th-round draft pick. He played 26 games for Hamilton. I don't know if that's because of injury or because he was a healthy scratch, but 26 games played, that's not enough. And odds are, if it's an injury issue, he'll still get his shot next year somewhere in the professional leagues. Vancouver, Cole Candela, a 5th-round pick. 33 points for Sudbury. 6'1", he's a defenseman. His point totals really haven't gone up very much. I'd be very surprised if the Canucks keep him. Jacob Stuckel, 64 points for Calgary. And I know Stuckel. It's Stuckel, isn't it? I am butchering that. I'm going to stop. Calgary Hitman. And, Hitman, and here I am butchering his name. I'm going to get shot. Forward, 6th-round pick. I don't know. Again, these guys may get signed before May 31st, but we'll find out. Brett McKenzie, 7th-round pick. Yeah, I'm moving on from the other guy. 33 games played for Owen Sound this year, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not signed by the Canucks. Vegas didn't have a pick in 2016 because they weren't in the league yet. So, we move on to Washington. Kevin Elgestal, 13 points in the Swedish 1 league, which is one step below the main Swedish league. 7th-round pick in 2016, probably not going to get signed. Dmitry Zaitsev, 28 points in Moose Jaw. 7th round pick. With the name Zaitsev, I would imagine the Leafs will come calling even if they're not related. I'm just kidding. Winnipeg, this is the one that interests me too. Jordan Stallard, 5th round pick, 91 points for Prince Albert. There are always going to be guys who, based on their junior totals, will get signed for at least a look. And I think in a Vancouver case, Dane Fox was a good example of that. Put up a lot of goals in his overage season, so they gave him a shot. It didn't pan out, but some of the guys on this board may end up in the NHL at some point. And there will be guys who don't get signed and get signed, like they don't get signed and they either re-enter the draft or they get signed as free agents somewhere else. And they may end up being decent NHLers. I'd watch Elenick and I'd watch Masharin. And again, the thing with Masharin is he was one spot before DeBrincat. So if Florida had drafted DeBrincat, just imagine. Just think about that for a second. Just relax. Just think about that. And then, no, he went to Chicago. So, anyways, and there's still a video on this channel of the 2016 draft where I talk about how DeBrincat's probably going to be a steal. And I was angry that Chicago got him because Chicago had too many good players as it was. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. That ends the list. I don't have any status that these guys have signed at all. I went through Cap Friendly, went through every player before I post this video. There's no guarantee these guys won't sign between now and the 30th, but it'll be interesting to see if any of these guys end up making the NHL. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.